Welcome to the Bearded Finisher Podcast, your one-stop show for all things finishing and coatings. Your host, Zach, and a variety of industry experts will guide you through the art of perfecting your finishing and business game. From seasoned pros to fresh faces, get ready for tips, tricks, and trends to elevate your knowledge and business to the next level.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. Today's episode, we're going to be talking to Price and is it Maya or Maya? Maya, okay. I knew I would probably butcher that. So what's going on, ladies? How are we doing?
Good. Thank you, Zach, for having us.
Hi, Zach. So nice to meet you.
Oh, I'm glad you ladies came on. I actually was driving. I was picking my kids up from school, and I get a phone call from Jeremy at New Age. He was actually in town. It's been a while back, and we recorded an episode that's coming out, I think, in 2 weeks. And he called me up and he was like, Zach, I just got through interviewing these two awesome ladies, and I was telling their guy, you got to call Zach. You got to get on the Bearded Finisher Podcast. I mean, it was like a 30-minute conversation. Hung up, email. I think it's Ben is your guy?
Brian.
Brian emailed me, and then we're like, and got it connected. And I just got through talking to Jeremy before we jumped on. I said, hey, the girls are coming on today. And he's like, tell them I said hi. He said, we had so much fun.
We love that. We're so grateful for the referral.
Yeah, it was such a pleasure to talk to him.
He was in Dallas for a project, and he's like, I'm just going to come. I've got a customer. Let's just record in person. So I'm like, come on. So I've got a studio. He showed up at the studio. It was like, I think we had 9 or 10 in the morning, and he shows up with a 6-pack of beer. But he's been really into, and I'd never had it before, athletic brewing. Have you guys had athletic brewing?
I have, and it is the most awesome non-alcoholic beer you've ever tried.
And it's amazing. Ever since we had it on the show, and ever since that day, like, there's always 6 or 12 of them in the fridge. They're just incredible.
I know. You can't even tell the difference. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a couple of guys, and he knows one of them really well. He's been friends. Just two guys that just thought non-alcoholic beer should taste better, and they've got just about they've got a hazy IPA that's just incredible. I mean, I like Voodoo Ranger. Is probably one of my favorite hazy IPAs. You can't tell the difference. And you got one that'll knock you on your butt when you drink 2 to 3, and another one that doesn't do anything to you. It's weird, but they're really good. You should try it, Maya.
Makes a difference as we get older.
Yeah.
Yeah, IPAs are I used to not like them, but then I'll kind of, join Price's Club. You know, there's a lot of things that now that I'm over 40 that I wouldn't have thought pre-40. No way. That's disgusting. Now I'm like, oh, this is kind of good. Crap.
Yeah, fennel has become one of those things for me.
Yes.
Right? I know. I used to hate it when I was younger, and now I love it.
The only one that I haven't gotten on is, like, I can't stand coconut. Everyone thinks I'm weird. The texture, the flavor. I was like, once I start liking coconut, it's all over. I'm officially an old fart.
I'm the opposite. I could live on coconuts. Like, absolutely. Every variation.
My father-in-law, anything coconut flavored, he is devouring. He loves it. And I'm just the smell of it. And I just kind of, I don't know why. I just can't do it. Well, let's dig in. Let's kind of, for those of you that don't know Price and Maya, they are co-owners and operators of a company called Alkemis. Alkemis is, I'm going to let you ladies take it over here in a minute, just to let everyone know it is a natural well-being route in the paint world. They have a designer paint company called Alkemis, and it is considered, you guys market it as a wellness paint because you're going a little more holistic with the ingredients than your typical silicones and plastic resins and things like that. So let's do this. We'll start with you, Maya, and then we'll go to Price. Just kind of where you grew up, where you're originally from, and how in the world we got Alkemis?
Yeah, it's a very weird, long story that has like one of those situations where I feel like every piece of my life has brought me exactly to this moment. And I feel like, Price is similar, even though very different background story. So I was born in Florida. My dad was a professional tennis player. My mom is Lebanese and was a decorative painter when I was growing up. So she did all different types of projects. Like she did the Celine Dion Theater, but she was like as an example, she also did the Union Club in New York, and she did a lot of fine finishing and a lot of trompe l'oeil. And she was always going to Europe to learn about different ways to apply paint. She got really into like lime fresco for a little while. Anyway, I grew up around that. And like any teenager, I was like, I'm going to do something totally different professionally, like screw art, even though I always loved it. But I decided to go into finance. And then, we make a bunch of twists and turns in our life. Eventually, I found my way back to art. I started taking classes at the New York Academy of Art after work when I was at American Express. And this was in 2019. I loved it. I found it to be an act of meditation. I was so into the materials. Like it really is core to who I am. And then the school shut down during the pandemic. And I was looking for a creative project to do. And I was thinking I would repaint my apartment in New York City, which is 450 square feet. So I walked to the hardware store with my N95 mask on, in the no zero VOC section. And I was still smelling paint fumes. And I was like, why does zero VOC paint smell so bad? And then, I came back home because I was like, I can't paint. There's nowhere for me to go. I'm going to upset all of my neighbors. I started doing a little bit of research and, I knew this already, but I realized that all of the paint, literally 95% of the paint that we're using on a global basis is acrylic, latex, some combination of that derived, which is plastic and fossil fuel derived. And so I was like, we're painting our walls with plastic. Why is nobody talking about this? Because I knew from my mom and also from my art education that we have been obviously painting our spaces long before the advent of plastic. And there were a lot of different ways that people could utilize natural materials for paint. But it was just sort of surprising to me as a conscious consumer who buys organic food and reads labels of skincare and is trying to use healthy cleaning materials inside of my home. That smell was just so chemically abrasive. It like reminded me of being at the gas station when, you're younger and you're like, oh, this kind of smells good, but it's also bad. I'm like, I can't, I can't believe that we're not talking about the fact that everyone is concerned about PFAS, microplastics, all of this stuff, but yet we're painting our walls with it. And I just thought there had to be a better way. So that was really like where the genesis of the idea started. Of course, I had no idea like how to move forward from there. I was thinking maybe, I could use plant-based pigments to come up with a paint, like the fashion industry was using plant-based pigments. And so I was in that sort of like
bio-based.
Yeah, bio-based. I was in that discovery phase, and Price and I met in 2020. And we met at a wellness retreat in Santa Fe. We had so much in common as it relates to like our love of art, our love of design. I just thought Price was a really interesting and cool person. And we had a lot of similarities as it relates to like our aesthetic approach to things. And so I had mentioned this idea to her, and having no idea what her professional background was, other than that she was cool and obviously aesthetically minded. And Price was sort of surprised that she had never thought about this concept either, because, as she'll tell you, her whole background has been in art and design. And I knew that this product needed not only to be good for people in the environment, but I wanted it to be really beautiful and really aesthetically pleasing because it's paint and it's like the oldest form of design for people's interior spaces. Like, the Blombos caves have paint in them. So, I didn't know how to do that. And I thought that Price might. And, by luck, her professional circumstances was such that she was looking for a new entrepreneurial endeavor. And so, I'll let her jump in here, but that's sort of how we started this journey.
I mean, the big thing about paint that I used to tell all my customers and builders and everything, it's exactly what you're saying is it's the first thing anyone sees when they walk into a home or an office is paint, is finish. Whether it's clear on wood, pigmented on walls, it doesn't matter. But it's the last thing people think about when they go to build a house. So there's no forethought put into it. So, I mean, having you guys come into the marketplace and think about it in like a holistic manner, it's such an interesting outtake. I mean, it's an interesting take on how you guys are approaching, I would almost say approaching the business model of paint, because it's so outside of the box. I love it. Price, come on, let's hear. Where'd we grow up at?
To your point, like shifting people's perspective to take the time to think about those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I told you before we started. So I grew up in Texas, in the Texas Panhandle, and so I grew up spending a lot of time in nature, in the country. My dad's family's from Tennessee, like full Waylon Jennings song, T for Texas, T for Tennessee. But I was always interested in art and design from a very young age. And I knew from the time I was little that I wanted to be an artist or designer, architect in some capacity. And so I followed that path, and I actually studied fine arts in Paris. And then I went to the Rhode Island School of Design. And so I got my degree there in graphic design, and I went on to work in the furniture world, the art world, the hospitality world. And I actually went back to school during the pandemic for interior design. So I was working in interiors. So as Maya said, like I've been very intimately involved in these industries and very intimately involved in the selection of paint for a lot of different spaces. And I am also a really, conscious consumer. My mom is always like, jokingly, like in a very sweet way, like rolling my eyes since I was a kid, because I like picking up the label and reading every single ingredient on every single thing and being like, no, sorry, we can't buy this. We can't get this. It's like too many ingredients, too many chemicals. So the fact that I also hadn't really put two and two together, and the fact that I've, gone to these very esteemed arts institutions and obviously knew acrylic paint is made out of plastic, but making that connection that is actually what we are covering the majority of our substrates with, certainly in the United States. And just when Maya brought this to my attention, I was like, wow, it was a huge light bulb moment. And like, we got to do better. There's got to be a better way. And as Maya mentioned, we did like 3.5 years of R&D going down the rabbit hole of, research and, just like deep dives of understanding how did we paint our spaces prior to the advent of plastic? Well, we were crushing up rocks and pigments and using a type of binder, whether that was egg, whether that was a type of, wax, whether it was, there were all sorts, animal fat, all sorts of different things that we've used, linseed oil, all sorts of things throughout the history of time. And when we go back and we look at all of those historical references, like Maya mentioned, the Blombos Cave, that's 100,000 years old. The Lascaux caves in France are 20,000+ years old. These same pigments, these ochres, these oxides, they're still there. So we know that these particular materials are able to really stand the test of time. And so we thought about like, how do we bring that into the modern day? And when creating a business and, launching a product and bringing a product to market, we really care about the environment. We care about human health, but it has to perform, right? If you have only those other two components and the paint doesn't stay on the wall and it doesn't last for a long time, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we really did so much work to bring a product to market that, not only meets, but actually exceeds the health, environmental, and performance benefits of conventional latex acrylic paints.
Excellent. And I noticed, I want to hit on something that I know you guys will probably talk about, but it caught my eye when I was checking out you guys on LinkedIn or on social media and just kind of looking at the products, and whoever does your social media is wonderful. Everything is so perfectly cohesive. Mine looks like a crazy ADD person.
Price does our social media.
I mean, it's beautiful.
Shout out to Price.
Cradle to Cradle. So I'm assuming, I mean, I understand the concept behind it. So, but kind of explain it to me. I mean, I get it. We come into this, we go out of this world, how we come into this world. So how did, I mean, I was in the manufacturing world for 3+ years, understand it. Until I saw that, I've never really heard of Cradle to Cradle certification. So what is it? How does it work? Is it third-party testing or is it internal testing? Kind of give us a rundown and so people can understand that.
I'm happy to start because I went down the rabbit hole of this just to figure out how to communicate it to the US consumer base, because you're right. A lot of people have heard of it in the concept of like what it means from like the standpoint of you have a product and you're talking about the circularity of the product. And that's sort of how they associate Cradle to Cradle, but they don't actually always know that it is a certifying third party that has the most stringent environmental and health standards globally in the world. So it's not just something that we say like, oh, we care about the life cycle of the product. Like we have been evaluated by the most stringent third-party certification, and we're really proud to be Material Health Certified Gold and overall Silver. So what that means, just for context, I'm sure you've heard of GreenWise and GreenGuard. Those are US-based certifications. Yeah. Those are US-based certifications, and they focus exclusively on VOCs. And just for context, GreenGuard will test 360 VOCs. 360. Cradle to Cradle will, in their material health certification, and that's just one part of their overall governing pillars. Cradle to Cradle will test 10,000 chemicals that are known to cause environmental and health harm. And so this is inclusive of endocrine disrupting chemicals, carcinogens in every level, in addition to VOCs and biocides and preservatives and things that you and I don't even know are harmful necessarily to environmental and human health. So it is the most comprehensive from a material health standpoint. I mean, I think one of the things that is a real conversation right now is this conversation around PFAS. And I would challenge...
Explain PFAS to us.
PFAS are forever chemicals that are found in plastics. And they are known in a lot of different areas to cause endocrine disruption. And the reality is they're relatively new as it relates to human exposure. So there's not a lot of clarity around what their long-term effects are to human health, but we can see very clearly that they're affecting people's fertility, like both men and women, that they're affecting like a lot of aspects of people's hormonal development. And we don't necessarily know how they're directly correlating to cancers or things like that. But, you know, we're really proud to work with the Parsons Healthy. They're too new. I mean, they were introduced kind of in the 80s and 90s, like, but again, you need, like, when it comes to these longer term studies, like, you need a lot of data around being able to, like, explicitly say, like, this is how this is harming people. But what we do know is that, you know, Parsons Healthy Materials Lab, which we're really proud to be a part of, you know, babies are born now with 257 chemicals that are directly correlated to microplastics, and we have paint inside of our blood. On top of that, Forbes did an article in 2022 talking about how paint is one of the largest contributors of microplastics in the ocean and waterways. And so, like, I mean, I don't know. This is such a comprehensive view of why this is a problem and why we need to use less plastic in general. But we use over 90 million metric tons of fossil fuels to create conventional paints on an annual basis globally. And so it's just like when you think about plastic, it's going to take us a long time to 100% move away from that. And there are uses for it, but there's just way, 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 way too much. And there's no reason that we need to be covering our walls in plastic if there's an alternative. Like, that's just not necessarily, in my opinion, like a core need for plastic. You know, like maybe there are certain medical devices that you need plastic. Maybe there are certain car parts you need plastic. Like, I don't know, like computer parts. But like the walls, I don't think so, you know? Anyway, so
Yeah,
like...
I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying. Like, you're not... And to each his own, but you're not saying that we need to get rid of all fossil fuels. And we have a need, but I think most people would agree that we have an overabundance addiction to the use of plastics. I don't know if that's the right term to use, but I mean, we use it in places because we rely on it so heavily. We're like, oh, we can use it here. We can use it here. It's the easy path to get products done because it's so manipulable, because it's completely man-made.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Is that the reason to use it for everything?
It's cheaper. It's easier. Like, again, it's to your point. And I don't like, especially as an entrepreneur, I don't like to be an extremist. Like, I wish that we all lived in mud huts and didn't paint our walls at all. And like our homes were fully compostable and like breathable, but that's not realistic. Like, we live in 2025. People are going to be painting their walls, and it's beautiful, and they should, but they should know like that there are options. And that's like just where, Price and I are really trying to like educate people about the fact that is plastic so necessary for your walls? Like maybe in certain instances, but I don't know. I would argue like probably not. And so anyway, so again, going back to Cradle though, like, I mean, the thing is that we're really proud to be one of the only paints in North America that are Cradle to Cradle certified. It's a very, very extreme and arduous process to get certified. We have to get recertified every 2 years, and we have to constantly do better in order to get certified, to stay certified and be part of the community, which I think is also unique to certification programs. And this is, again, a global standard. So for the people who are listening to this podcast, if you're ever doing a project with a GC or an architect that's going for LEED certification or WELL certification or the Living Building Challenge, which is now, the most actionable standard, that I'm aware of, Cradle to Cradle certified paint like Alkemis will give you up to 4 points for the latest versions of LEED, as an example. I know they're always changing, whereas GreenWise, Green Guard would only give you 1 point. And so there's a lot of inherent benefit, not just from a health and environmental perspective, but also if you're on a project and you're looking to figure out ways to get those scores, in an easier, more straightforward and efficient way.
Yeah. I mean, we did in the manufacturing side. Props to you ladies for going after that. I mean, a big need in that world. This is something you ladies may want to take on as another project, but one of the biggest needs that people are looking for right now, and there might be one guy in the US that's doing it, is food grade coatings. There's a lot of people that are wanting to do butcher block tops, wood countertops, and they want a food grade coating to go on for them. I was in the world of all the big guys, know all the chemists. No one wants to do food grade coatings because of the testing is so insane, and it's an annual test. Every year you have to be renewed to have a food grade biodegradable coating, because if you're cutting raw meat or vegetables on a coating, that you're going to get stuff in there. I mean, linseed oil is one of the only things that people still use, but even that's modified today. But I mean, the LEED certification, the Green Guard, I mean, we went through all that stuff. The big push right now in Europe is the bio coatings. A certain percentage of your I think it has to be like 36% of your core resin has to be biorenewable to get that bio-based coating. It's an international one. A lot of European companies, a lot of the water-based polyurethanes for wood and stuff are going towards that. It sounds similar. That's not near as strenuous as trying to get the cradle to cradle. I mean, that's impressive. Congratulations to you two on that one.
Thank you.
So did you have something you wanted to add, jump in there, Price?
Well, I think just talking about like the different components of cradle to cradle, like Maya said, the real difference is that, these other domestic certifications, Green Guard, Greenwise, Declare, they really rely on one measure of sustainability, typically VOCs, whereas Cradle to Cradle certified assesses all aspects of our product design and manufacturing across 5 categories, which are material health, product circularity, clean air and climate protection, water and soil stewardship, and social fairness. And so not only is our company held to those standards, all of our raw materials, any vendors that we work with, they're also audited to make sure that they're complying with this overall standard.
Okay. So that was kind of where I was going to go. If I put my manufacturing hat on and I start geeking out about this side of it. So are you guys are you having it tolled, or are you guys bringing production in-house and doing it all yourself?
We've done a ton of research, but we're making it essentially ourselves. Yeah. With somebody, who's a manufacturer.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys have partnered with a manufacturer. You guys kind of oversee the raw material purchases and oversee the production of it, that they're meeting the qualities, but you've partnered with a manufacturer. Do you guys see yourself maybe in the future to building your own manufacturing facility and bringing it in-house?
Yeah, well, that is a very good question. I think so. I mean, especially as we think about, expanding into, like, one of the things that I'll just transparently say is a limitation of our paint, because it is mineral based, is when it comes to cabinetry. Our paint is vapor permeable, so we don't recommend it for high traffic or cabinetry, even though it will adhere. It's also, we only have the one finish because of the fact that, we don't use any plasticizers. So in the world of paints, obviously the shinier the paint is, the more resins, alkyds, like the more plastics are in it. And people obviously get that as soon as you say it, but they don't necessarily think about it, when we're like, we only have the one finish, and they're like, well, we want this in like a eggshell. And I'm like, that's not exactly how it works. And so to your point, there's a lot of innovation around plant-based polymers and bio, solutions. And I think that those are things that we would like to explore, because we would like to obviously be able to have cabinetry paint as well. And to clarify, you can apply it to cabinetry if you use an acrylic based primer, because the real issue is, like, you don't want the wood that is a natural material that expands and contracts to have access to the moisture through the vapor permeability. Like, our paint is very rigid by nature. But, when it comes to designers, when it comes to contractors, it's a pain point, because they just want to be able to go to one place and to buy everything. And so, I do think that in order for us to like continue to grow from an innovation standpoint there, it would be feasible that we would create our own manufacturing facility in the future. But to clarify, we're like less than 2 years old, at least since we've launched. Obviously, Price has mentioned we've done 3.5 years of R&D, but we launched in May of 2023. So it's like baby steps. We're still in the place where like we're educating people about the fact that paint is made out of plastic to begin with. And so,
yeah, I mean, I preach it. It's all about incremental growth. The safest and the best way is incremental growth. Don't try to go crazy. I mean, I've built companies. You try to grow too fast, and I mean, call it Mother Nature, call it God, whoever you look up to. If you try to get out there too fast and beat the system, you're going to get smacked down, and you're going to get smacked down fast. So let me ask you this. So we're talking about the paint, and we've kind of mentioned the manufacturing. So we've got a great community here. I mean, tons of listeners, huge following. where are you guys selling this stuff at? Are you guys selling it direct? Are you going through distribution, or is distribution a 5-year goal down the road? What are we talking here?
Well, so right now we are selling direct to consumer. Everything is available on our website. And I think, when launching this company, we really did a lot of analysis around this. And so many companies, so many of these like heritage paint brands actually during the pandemic shifted their models to, online ordering, because everybody was kind of forced to do that. And I think certainly the younger generation, like everybody's used to ordering everything online at this point. But it is a little bit of particularly for painting contractors, developers, builders, it's a little bit of a shifting of perspective, right? Because you're on a job site, you're on a project, and you would typically say, okay, like here's our paint schedule. We know that what we're going to do ahead of time. We know what quantities we need. But today's painting day, we're going to take our guys at 6 a.m. We're going to go down to the local hardware store. We're going to pick up our paint, right? So with our product, we like to work with everybody directly. We like to do as much hand holding as anybody needs. We just want to shift that perspective again for people. And so our production time is 3 to 5 business days. And that is prior to shipping, because everything is hand mixed, handmade, and made to order. So we don't have any waste.
Okay. So you guys are making to order. You don't have stock on the shelf. Yeah, I mean, I could see that from being in the painting world. That's going to be a hurdle. But if you go more towards the, I don't want to say the elite, but like the high-end projects, the right projects in construction, you'll get the lead time. So it's more of your target demographic, if I may, would probably be geared more towards, right now in the state that you're in, more towards designers. You're getting it in the designer at the beginning phase, and it trickles down to the painting contractors, and they can pre-order stuff. I mean, your painting contractor and your GC is still heavily baby boomer and Gen X focused, and they're still in the, I don't want to order junk online. I want to go buy it at the paint store. I want to have that relationship with the paint distributor. So something goes wrong, I go talk to someone that day. But, so there's a little bit of a fight there to get that. But if you get on the designer side, you get into that, what we call the elite finishing level, where you've got, like Bespoke Finish, Robert Chicky, Adam Fox, Jade Turner, who, by the way, is also from Amarillo. I was going to ask you if you he still lives there.
I gotta go look him up. No, I gotta look him up.
Yeah, he is, I mean, an amazing artist. Sidetrack, I tell everyone we always chase squirrels in this podcast, but
that's great.
He lives
give shout outs to all the
30 minutes north of Amarillo, but he does a lot of work in Amarillo. Still lives there today. Family business, but excellent artist. Very good at what he does on that high end stuff. Does a lot with Adam Fox and those guys. But that group, that level of finisher, is way more comfortable with ordering paint, because they have to order it now. I mean, let's face it, they're ordering it already, because you can't find it everywhere. Have you guys, and this is kind of sidetracked because, again, this is how my brain's working. Have you guys ever done anything with the liquid metal guys?
Well, I was going to say, as we talked about earlier, doesn't Adam specialize in liquid metal, or?
Yeah, so Adam is a trainer, Vero Metal. Adam is a trainer for Vero Metal, and so is Chade as well. They're both trainers for Vero Metal, and they are, is it Dutch? It may be Dutch or Netherlands. Vero Metal. It's something that it reminds me a lot of what you guys are doing. So getting you guys in contact with a guy named Robert Chicky, who is the exclusive North American distributor for them, I think would be a great relationship, because he is in a lot of designers' ears, and he's going to New York a lot, talking to designers, doing a lot of those really high-end projects where they're wanting casino level, the elite of the elite finishes. So Vero Metals, if they do, I mean, it's ground metals. It's various microns of like ground brass. And then there's a binder. They have water-based and a solvent-based binder. And you spray it on or brush it, roll it, whatever. But then when your binder evaporates, what is left is the metal. So it is metal. So it's brass. It'll tarnish like brass. It'll oxidize like brass. It's brass. Venahoods, anything you can think of. They have like 20 different metals.
So amazing.
It is some of the most amazing stuff. There's like 3 of them out there doing it. They're all from Europe. All the manufacturers. It's all being manufactured over there. But that's definitely something that I think on a strategic partnership level that you guys would, I think would be huge, because you're in that level of finisher.
Yeah, we'd love to check them out. I mean, the other thing too is like, with back to the painting contractors and ordering it. I mean, because we have such, kind of stringent product standards and color standards at this juncture in our business, it makes sense to do it all in one place so that we have control over that, so that like all the batches are the same. Because I mean, you've done this forever. Like a lot of times when you franchise out color mixing equipment, there will be discrepancies between how one mom and pop shop does it or one place does it. And so we really just want to keep that super consistent for our brand so that everybody has the same experience. And the thing is too, like once painters get over the hump of ordering it online, and once they use it and they, start to develop the trust in using a new product, because look, everyone's like, I don't know, you guys, you're young. Like, I don't know how this product is going to perform. So there is rightfully so some, a little bit of hesitation with people, especially on big projects. They're like, I don't want to do a whole big project with this, like without knowing the product. Every single time a painter uses it, I mean, they're blown away. We get testimonials from people and they're like, honestly, if I get, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it an 11, because there are so many advantageous benefits as a painting contractor to this product. It's fundamentally different from latex acrylic. It is mineral based. So the binder is made out of minerals, and then it has all natural mineral pigments. So our paint has over 40% more solids, more pigment than conventional latex acrylic paint. So the the hiding and coverage is insane. Our first commercial job we did was an 8,000 square foot space. We sent them like 30 plus gallons of primer. They didn't touch a drop because our paint is totally self-priming. They were going over dark Barney purple, bright red, 2 coats of our paint in, done. In and out super quickly. It's really quick drying. There's no chemical odor. You don't have to wear masks. You don't have to use fans. So from a labor perspective, and this, like on a paint job, it's typically 80% labor, 20% materials. It's like you're saving so much money over the long term. And in addition, the lifespan of our product is double that of conventional latex acrylic.
I just wanted to jump in there on some of those points because, like, again, shout out to Adam Fox and Anthony Ferresso for anybody who's listening to this podcast. The 2 of them hosted our first certification program 2 weeks ago up in Hudson Valley. And this is something that we'll continue to do. Probably the next location is in Dallas. So if you're listening to this podcast, you want to come, you want to get weird with Alkemis Paint, like contact Adam or Anthony. We'll have, a new sign up sheet once we organize, or us, when we'll do this, but just
I'll bring it. We'll set up and we'll do a live episode. I'm in Dallas, so.
Perfect. But, just direct feedback from those guys. And again, there were some other guys there that have been, again, equally exceptional finishers around the country. They were like, the feedback about the coverage was, we did a dark red room, like our color Bloody Mary Morning and our color Hair of the Dog upstairs. Anthony was like, I've never, ever used this color and not had to use 6 coats. He was blown away by the coverage with 1 coat. And same thing with the dark blues. He had mentioned, which was new to me, he had mentioned that light yellow is a really challenging color to paint with. Even fine paints of Europe, again, I don't want to call anybody out, but like they were really blown away by the coverage of Alkemis Paint because they were like, I can't believe that I'm done in 2 coats. Like, I'm able to do more jobs. Like, I'm able to, like, you know, have a much easier time on site by it's so much less labor. And then on top of that, you know, as we were talking before we started airing, Zach, like the guys, because the paint is made out of minerals, they were able to brush it. They were able to roll it. They're able to spray it. They're able to polish it and legitimately make it look like metal, you know, like smooth to the touch, like apply different colors, trowel a lighter color, trowel a darker color on top of a lighter color and then polish it to make it look like marble, or just use one color and, you know, do a brush stroke and then polish it and make it look like Venetian plaster. So we're really going to continue to explore like this one paint, many applications. I mean, it has to be done by people like listening to this podcast who have experience with like playing around with materials. But I think it really provides so much variability, and it's such a cool thing to have in your arsenal of products as a fine finisher, to know that like you're able to not only offer Venetian plaster, but you're also able to offer a very similar look, like arguably something that would be virtually the same by the naked eye for much less effort on your side and much cheaper for your client, but you're still making like a huge spread on your labor, you know? And so those were the types of things that like Adam and Anthony and these guys with so much experience were able to share with us that I think is invaluable for the fine finishing community. And we're so excited about it.
On a science side, let me ask you a question. So are you willing, I don't want to say share, if it's secret sauce, don't worry about it, but in generating these darker, richer colors, you know, and I get the science behind the pigment. So I would assume you guys are using dry pigments, not wet pigments. And are you grinding them in as you make the paint, or are you applying them post production on the paint? Like what are you guys doing, if you're willing to say, give a little peek behind the curtain, that's allowing the color to be so rich? Like, what's your tint load? Are you guys doing a 30-40% tint load, 10% tint load, and you're still getting that? How's that? Give us a little bit of history there.
Yeah, so we use 10 natural pigments. And as I mentioned before, these are the same pigments we've been using since the dawn of time. These ochres, these oxides, all things that have been, you know, proven by nature, derived from nature. And then the binder is a liquid, it's a proprietary binder, but it is essentially a liquefied clear crystal quartz. And then the other, you know, kind of ingredient is potassium silicate, which is one of the materials that makes up the majority of the crust of the earth. So it's very plentiful, it's very sustainable. And so everything is mixed on site, and actually the pigments are liquid, like everything's inert by the time it gets to us. All of our raw materials and stuff are coming from Europe. Everything is mixed by hand here at our factory in the United States. And so I mentioned the bit about like 40% more solid. So it just depends on the color for the tint load, honestly, like if it's a lighter color or a darker color. But just to get an understanding of why the coverage is so much better and the hiding, we talked about the high pigmentation. A gallon of our paint weighs 14 pounds. A gallon of water weighs 7 pounds.
Yeah, so water 7.3, I think. But yeah,
exactly. So just to give you an idea of how much more dense it is as an overall formula and product. And then the super interesting thing is like you get this incredible, it has a really high light reflective value because the binder is that clear crystal quartz, which is hexagonal in nature. So it really allows for those natural pigments to shine through in this like fascinating and unparalleled way. So it's a matte finish, but it's really luminous. Like the color jumps off the wall in this really incredible way.
So what about viscosity?
Does that make sense?
So yeah, that makes sense. So if you were to open up a can of, open up a can of Alkemis, and we're going to open up a can of, we can call it, you know, FPE's wall paint. We've already mentioned them. What's up? Been trying to get John on the show too, but What are we talking? Like, is the viscosity close to normal paint, or are you guys have thicker out of the can and they can reduce it with water? Is it more like a mud texture?
Exactly. It's thicker in the can, not outrageously thick, not like plaster, but you can dilute it up to 10% with water.
Okay. So you can go out of the can onto the wall. It's not like a gallon of paint's going to produce 2 gallons because you need to reduce it before you can apply it.
Only with you can do that with lime wash, but a regular paint, you can jump in, Maya.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, the thing that really stood out to me when we were talking about hiding is, and I can't speak for every paint brand, but I don't know, but most paint brands do not use mineral-based pigments. They use synthetic pigments. So they're using inks, right, to color their paint, which is why when it's these really dark colors, you have to use so many coats. Like, yes, our paint is obviously made out of minerals, has a lot more solids. We do recommend that you mix it with a paddle drill, because the sediment will, sort of settle. Like, if you don't have a paddle drill, even though everybody probably listening to this podcast has one. But I'm just saying, like, in general, you could get away with the stir stick and just really mix it very thoroughly. But like, it is rock based. So you want to make sure you give it a really, really good mix. But the mineral pigment relative to a synthetic pigment is like really what the core of the differences from a coverage perspective, in addition to the fact that the base of the paint is made out of minerals. So it's so much more pigmented.
Yeah, in today's world, most paint, the best way I explain to people from the science side of it is what I tell them is people don't really tint paint with pigment anymore, because most all paint stores have a proprietary blend that goes with their manufacturer's paint, sold by their manufacturer, and it contains resin. Like something like 70 or 80% of the pigments on the market today contain resin to add body to the paint. But you can get pigment overload, you can get resin overload when you get to those dark colors and you get the spots. But in today's world, the better description of what people are doing, which you guys are changing that, is they're tinting paint with paint. That's what most people are doing, is they're tinting paint. That's what most distributors and manufacturers will tell you, because they're trying to get to that zero VOC, so they can't use the natural pigments, they can't use the dinks and the dyes because they have too many VOCs in them, too many compounds or too many chemicals. So they're basically taking a really reduced paint and throwing some pigment in there so you get some color, and they're tinting paint with paint. I mean, that's any of your big guys that we won't say here. That's what they're doing. They're tinting paint with paint. I mean, that's even what a lot of the guys are making now. I mean, your big colorant manufacturers, I mean, they're all reducing down to the tinting paint with paint. And it kills the color, and it kills the clarity and that richness that you get with, those paints that are doing what you're doing. You're using 10 colors, and you guys have your own colors, right? And then you guys will do any type of matching.
Yeah, we can do color matching. I mean, pretty comprehensively. I mean, obviously, because we use to natural pigments, there are some, we have parameters. Like you're not going to get a Barbie pink. You're not going to get like an acid green. But I don't know how many people are actually really wanting to paint their spaces those colors. It's more derived from nature. But we have a really comprehensive palette. We have 119 core colors in our palette, and we can do custom colors and color matching as well.
That's awesome. Well, what about, we've kind of talked on that. What about anything exciting that you guys are working on that may be coming out in the next little bit that you want to share? Any exciting projects coming up?
I mean, we have a litany of exciting projects coming up. Of course, there's like a fair bit of them that are under NDA, so we can't explicitly talk about them. But like just high level, some things to expect from us. We're going to be we are in process of making a palette for one of the most notable art institutions in the country. And we're going to be doing all of their new space, which is very exciting. The paint is really, really well suited for museums and institutions. I mean, it's really well suited for all places, but like you have to be really careful with fine arts and antiquities because they're so old, and off-gassing can directly affect them. We'll be doing collaborations, palettes with incredible designers, doing those types of collaborations. We're really looking forward to that, like collaborations with brands like fashion companies and things of that nature. And we're also really excited. We're working towards doing a wallpaper collaboration, which will allow for, like a lot of times people want to be able to use a wallpaper and a paint in the same place. And so we're trying to package that up in a really cool way where there's like one wallpaper that you could use with a variety of our paints in one collection and another wallpaper that you could use with a variety of our paints in another collection. So still making it like not overwhelming from a choice perspective, but like just giving you a little bit more option from an aesthetic point of view. And anything else you want to add there, Price? I mean, like the sky's the limit.
Product development. I mean, obviously everyone we're talking to on this podcast is in the trade. So we do have absolutely best in class slaked European lime wash available to the trade. We will eventually roll that out to our retail consumers. And then, exactly what we talked about earlier, just thinking about additional, product additions to our line that we think can be really complementary, that also have these same pillars.
If I throw my entrepreneur hat on here and play Shark Tank, have you guys considered, into kind of changing the culture, but taking it to the next level, like trying to partner with one of the more conscious big guys and floating them out there a partner with someone like that? I mean, is that something that you guys would entertain down the road or anytime?
I mean, listen, we're open to talking to everyone and anyone, at the end of the day. Like, we want to be super collaborative.
Okay. I mean, that just kind of didn't know. It's always that thing of, and there's nothing wrong with it. It depends on where and this is what I preach to my coaching clients is, what do you want? I mean, that's the key goal in all this is, what do you want as an entrepreneur? What do you want out of life as a business owner? And what you want, the ultimate want, is the direction that you go to get it. So, if you want to change we'll call it the world of paint, getting with one of the more conscious manufacturers out there now, whether it be Ben Moore, SW, for two of the biggest ones that are in there, or, Nippon, and any of them, you can name them all, going a route like that to look at trying to change the whole culture? Or do you guys like the boutique world and that's really where you want to settle in and grow the boutique paint world?
Well, so much of this is about education, right? And that's why we're so grateful to have this opportunity to talk to people like you or professionals in this field, and anybody, any opportunity we have to talk about this, because the fundamental part of it is educating people, right? And just conveying that, hey, there's an alternative out there that is derived from Mother Nature and is healthier for humans, better for the environment, and is equal and actually better from a performance perspective. So we want to start with that education and getting the word out. And then I'll pass it off to Maya about, kind of bigger plans. But one of our, our mission statements is that together we can raise the vibration of our home planet by starting with our most intimate space, our four walls, or five if you want to paint your ceiling too. But just this idea of being conscientious about the choices, the material choices you make within your home and how that percolates out into the rest of the world.
Okay. Yeah. What do you want to throw in there, Maya?
I mean, I was just going to say, if anybody wants to talk to us, we are available for a conversation as it relates to the bigger paint brands, I do think that it would be amazing to make enough of an impact in society that people are expecting better. And if one of these brands wants to buy us and meet our standards as it relates to we would be open to a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, you never know what happens, but I've noticed on this podcast and the messages that I get, there's a lot of C-level guys that'll message me and be like, hey, I like that. And I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe this guy listened to an episode. But just knowing that that's out there and knowing, You know, because a lot of times I've learned in the past of dealing with C-level people and especially in the manufacturing world. I don't know why in the paint manufacturing world, we're just weird. That's just all there is to it. Like, they get really weird about reaching out. They're like, oh, they don't want to do that. They're going to do their own thing. So, like, being that my whole premise of this podcast is promoting, sharing knowledge, and promoting the industry as a whole, I just like to get it out there. Like, hey, they're open to collabs. Just reach out. Maybe you guys can do a line together, or, you know, the need is there. Like, clearly, if the want wasn't there, you guys wouldn't be making the product or selling the product. We can agree on that. So people want change and they want to see something different, and you guys are doing that, and that's amazing. So for other companies to see that and take that in, or just say, hey, Bryce and Maya, let's do a collab, let's do a strategic partnership, all that does is better the industry. And that's my ultimate goal, is just to make this industry better and better, and not thought of as the drunk guy in the beat up van coming in to paint my walls.
So true. And I mean, we're very much of the attitude that, like, you know, a rising tide lifts all ships. And
agreed.
Like, again,
Yes.
We have so much respect for painters and contractors doing this work. And and also, you know, we're really proud to not be contributing to any health issues on their end, you know, by providing a product that is healthier for them to be applying. Because I think a lot of times people buy paint and they're not the ones applying it, and they don't think about the impact to their, you know, contractors and painters. So we've had such great feedback that's been really, really touching when people come up to us and they're like, thank you so much for not putting my health at risk.
It's awesome when you get people coming up and just say, hey, I mean, you're like, yeah, I've had that in the Alaska show or two, and it's just, it almost makes the sleepless nights of, is this going to work? Is this really going to work out? It's stuff like that kind of makes it worth it. And I always tell you, like, that's the stuff you're shooting for. You get that, and that's like, I mean, for lack of a better term, that's like, you know, a sweet line of cocaine when you're about to fall asleep. When someone says, thank you so much, that's awesome, you just did a line of coke and you can go another 100 miles without sleep.
You know, it really is those like testimonials from people and that encouragement that we get and feedback like after using the product, that, yeah, exactly, that like gives us the fuel and like energy and excitement to keep doing what we're doing. Obviously, we're really passionate about it, but it feels so good to, you know, have that validation from customers and, you know, applicators and, you know, people in the industry.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, the passion shows through. I can tell both of you, like, you exude the passion of this, and that's what makes, in my opinion, that's what draws people in, is that passion. But then you have the knowledge behind the passion to back facts that back up your passion. And, you know, it's not just, you know, all bubble gum and rainbows. You know, you've got the science to back it up. So people are like, okay, you're passionate, let's see what they have to say. And then it's there, and then they use the product and they're like, holy crap, this stuff's amazing. I mean, that's just like a winning combination. So congrats, you guys are doing an awesome job. I mean, that's amazing. I don't want to keep you too much longer. I've got my final question I do on every show is, like I said, I want the people to get to know Price. I want to get them to know Maya. When they see you at a training, they'll be like, yeah, listen to your podcast. I like to do X too. I know you guys are starting a business and working your asses off, but
yes,
what is a passion that you guys have that might surprise the listeners, or something you like to do when you're not working all the time?
Maya, you want to start?
Let's start with Maya.
I mean, honestly, I really love art. Like, my biggest passion is art. I love to paint. I don't ever have paint on canvas. Like, you know, no one can see this, but like, I painted this beautiful, you know, still life. Like, this is an oil painting.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Like, I love to draw. Like, I'm really bad at sculpture, which I learned. Like, I thought, okay, like I can do the 2D, the 3D I'm like not great at. But I really, really love art, and I'm part of an art club, and I love to go to galleries. I love to go to art fairs. I also really love vintage shopping, and I have like, I'm a girl. I love to get dressed up. I have a circular closet. I rent my designer clothes. I buy designer vintage. I sell clothes, like, and I try to be as green as I can about my consumption while still indulging in the fact that, like, I love to be creative in the way that I dress. So yeah, art and fashion in a responsible way are like probably two of my big passions. I also love to cook a lot.
That's awesome. I mean, I've always been told that, and that it's not worth cooking in New York.
There are so many good restaurants.
Yeah.
There's just so many amazing restaurants, and by the time everything's so expensive there. Like, I mean, I've never been to New York. And one time I thought I wanted to live there. I was horribly wrong. Like, I live in Dallas now, and it's too big for me, so I'm getting out. But, like, and you've lived in New York for how long?
I've lived in New York like on and off for like 15 years now. Like I said, I did a stint in Austin. I did a stint in LA. But yeah, it's been, I mean, that's a whole other thing. Like, I started my career on Wall Street in New York. Like, I've been in there with the sharks, and like, it's just really nice to be doing something that I really feel is, like Price and I like to say, like, we don't love the word like disruptor, but like that is by nature like what artists and designers like do. Like, they change people's perceptions
yes.
of stuff in a way that's like not abrasive. Like, I can tell you something, but if you see it and you're inspired by it, it makes you think a different sort of way. Like, that's so meaningful. And like, this is just paint on your walls, but like, things that are beautiful and good for you and environmentally friendly, like, these things don't need to be mutually exclusive. And so it's sort of like our art form that we're doing, and it feels good to be doing that every day, even, in the throes of entrepreneurship, which are tough and, exhausting, and you don't sleep and the whole thing, but at least you feel a purpose, and that's like an indescribable benefit of what it is that we're doing.
That's awesome. What about you, Price? What's a passion?
We met over so many shared things that we care about. I've also, dedicated my whole life to art and design. So I'm very passionate about that. I love to cook. I love to eat. Travel is probably the biggest thing for me. Like, seeing the world. It's the best education I've ever gotten. Like, going to meet people from different cultures and different places, and just seeing, all the different ways in which people live and, design, and just are exist in places that are completely different than
My
where
wife
I'm
just
from.
got back from, well, she's back for like 2 weeks, but she started a new job in the corporate companies in Israel. So she had to go to Israel to visit corporate. And she was just, I mean, she's been to Europe. She's with her mom when she graduated, but she said it was like just a whole different perspective being in Israel. I mean, like, just gorgeous at the same time as not sad, but just with everything going on.
Yeah, eye-opening. And I think it's so important, if you have the opportunity to travel, I think that, and just like, not to get too hippie, but like, it's like, we're all the same at the end of the day, right? That's what we realize. But travel is such a huge gift in education. And then I'm also really passionate about animals and animal rescue. I grew up riding horses and, all the fun things.
I'm going to put horses on my ranch. My son is taking horse lessons. He's obsessed with the rodeo life. He wants to do like cow cutting and reining, and he's 7.
Got a lot of family members who have done that and currently do that.
So yeah, that's what we plan on doing at the ranch that we just bought, 10-acre ranch, is putting some horses and a training facility for him, hopefully. But yeah. And then my daughter's 4.
That's so fun.
And she wants to start riding horses. So that one kind of scares me.
They're incredible animals.
They are amazing. I love them. I love them as well.
And talk about learning a lot from horses. I mean, they are highly, highly sensitive.
And they're
we can learn a
so
lot from horses.
smart.
Yeah.
So smart.
Highly intelligent.
Well, listeners out there, if you guys haven't looked them up, pause the show and checked them out online. I'm going to have all their socials in the show comments down below. Give them a follow. Reach out to Price and Maya. Give them a try on their paint. Congratulations to you ladies for what you've accomplished in 5 years. That's amazing. Let's stay in touch for sure. And I greatly appreciate you ladies coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Zach. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. We thank everyone for joining. Keep hustling, keep learning, and never settle for anything less than your best. Remember, the path to perfection is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.